Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, family. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, family. Hmm. Aladah, shalom, shalak, shalom. Shabbat shalom, brother. I'm sure I'm coming in all right. If I'm coming in all right with everybody, man, hit that 7 in the chat for me. It sounds like I'm all right, but all right, you hop on, test your mic.
Con. Testing 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Mic check. 1 2 1 2.
You good on my end.
All
It's
right.
good. All praises. All right. Let me get some things situated on my end and then we'll get started. All right. Looks like we all right. Look like we all right. So, first of all, man, let's give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, White House, man, for blessing us with another blessed Sabbath. Hopefully, everybody's doing well, man, and enjoying your Sabbath day. Um, Today's class and closing Sabbath class is going to cover inflation, famine, prophecy, and preparedness. Um, this was a class I did maybe about 2 years ago, and it was just in my spirit, man, to redo it because I think it got deleted from our old channel, and the information is very relevant and necessary because everything that I was talking about a couple of years ago is still happening and even more heightened now. The intention of the class was spawned by looking at the parallels of the roaring 20s and the 2020 era. There was a lot of similarities, of things that was happening during that time and what's going on now. Because as we know, the scriptures tell us about nothing new being under the sun, right? In Ecclesiastes, um, understanding about history, looking for the old paths, Jeremiah 6:16. Um, and looking at that, man, I just seen some real interesting parallels. And if you look at what happened during the quote unquote roaring 20s, it ultimately led to a Great Depression and a complete collapse of the American economy, livelihoods, so forth and so on, right? So we're gonna get into those things, man, and really look through the spirit how the trajectory of what's going to be happening in 2020 leading up to 2030. In some instances, man, some of these things, Esau's pushing the panic button and trying to accelerate that time frame. So it may not even be a decade period that we go through experiencing some of these said perils. However, we stay in the spirit, man. We move as the Most High says, right? So let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. We're gonna go get into some of these scriptures, and then through the spirit, man, we'll probably, definitely hit some more scriptures moving forward. But let's look at this here first in Ecclesiastes 1 and 9.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun.
So the Most High acknowledged, and he said he even declares the end from the beginning, right? So when he acknowledged and he says that the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. So whatever happened in the past, he said that that's what's going to happen again. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. So the only thing that we can do and need to be doing is to look back historically on things that occurred, because the Most High is the creator, right? So if he created the whole blueprint, remember he said after 6 days he rests from all his labor. So everything that we see, the Most High said it's already put into motion. All the spirits have already been created for vengeance, for justice, for healing, for the prayers to be carried up to him, to the construction of the earth, the planet, the ordinances of the sun, moon, and stars, the cycles of life as far as the earth and the environment is concerned. Everything has already been laid in place. Even our cursings, those are even cyclical. We don't look at just 1555 and 1619 as the only times that we went into captivity. The Lord said this is a judgment that will happen to you anytime you break the law, statutes, and commandments. Don't forget that. See, that's why the Christian, they try to box us in and say, well, when did this happen? This didn't happen. These curses are cyclical, man. The Most High said this will be a judgment anytime you break my laws and my commandments. As we see, we've gone through multiple captivities, from Egypt to Assyria to Babylon to the Greeks and the Romans, the Persians and the Medes. Just look at the book of Judges. I mean, we was under captivity under all the nations: Moab, Ammon, Elam, the Canaanites, Philistines, you name it. So the Most High said that if it happened before, it will happen again. Hold that and go to Job 8 and 8. Let's get that classic out. We're going to come back to Ecclesiastes and read that one more time. But Job 8 and verse 8.
The book of Job, chapter 8, verse 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
So the Most High said that we got to inquire of the former age, meaning what? We got to find out and search out history to find out what exactly is going on. You know the old saying, those that don't know their history are destined to repeat it. Well, where did they get that from? Where did that ideology and that philosophy come from? The scriptures. The Most High said already, the thing that hath been is that which shall be done. He said, for I inquire, I pray thee of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of thy fathers. One more precept. Give me Romans 15 and 4. Romans 15 and 4. And then we'll go back to Ecclesiastes.
The book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
See, once we get into this, man, and we really start looking at everything that's contained within this PowerPoint, everything that everybody's been tuning in, you watching DSTMs, and you understanding and seeing the trajectory of where this world is going to, the only thing that we have and will be able to hold secure to is our patience and hope in these scriptures. That's it. The rewards has already been declared. The crowns have already been prepared. Yahweh said, in my Father's house there's many mansions. He go to prepare a place for us in John 14. The justice of the Most High has already been laid out. It's about he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. Staying focused and diligent on our goals, not falling for distractions, not falling for the okey doke that's going on out there in the world. The Lord said, if we can stay on this path, we're already guaranteed success. But if you look at it from a perspective of outside looking in, no spiritual root with the Bible, no repentance, no keeping of the laws and the commandments, you're obviously going to be looking at everything and saying, oh my goodness, what all hell is breaking loose and going to continually break loose from here on out. And if you're not rooted in this word, man, you can forget about it. The Most High said this is where we got to have our patience and have hope in what the Most High promised his children. Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. Let's go back there one more time.
Verse 9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun.
No new thing under the sun. So again, we're going to see some really eerily similar parallels between what happened 100 years ago and what's happening now. Okay. Let's go to Genesis, that Genesis precept, and look at what happened in Egypt. Genesis 41.
The book of Genesis, chapter 41, verse 53. And the 7 years of plenteous that was in the land of Egypt were ended, and the 7 years of dearth began to come, according as Joseph had said. And
Right.
the dearth was in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, what he saith unto you, do. And the famine,
Now hold on. Here, for anybody that needs a recap, Pharaoh had a dream, and he had seven fat calves, seven, famished or skinny calves, and he was wondering what the meaning of the dream was. None of the men within his court, man, the magicians, the dream interpreters, so forth and so on, could understand the meaning of the dream. He gets word that Joseph, a man of the Lord, had the ability to interpret dreams. He called for Joseph. Joseph interpreted the dream for him, which exalted Joseph as being made a ruler within Egypt. Second in command. Pharaoh said that Joseph would rule the whole kingdom. He's only second to him by throne alone. Only because Pharaoh sat on the throne was he above Joseph. Other than that, Joseph had full autonomy of running Egypt. And the interpretation of the dream was the fatted calves, you're going to have 7 years of plenteousness. After that, there's going to be 7 years of famine. Joseph said, look, we need to be stacked. We need to store up. 7 years, take advantage while the plenteousness is here. Because after that, the dearth and the famine is going to come in and it's going to wipe out everybody. So what we picked up at is the 7 years of plenteousness had completed. Now the 7 years of famine was coming into effect. So if we're looking at what was going on back then and now, the Most High has constantly been telling us about famines, pestilences being a part of end time prophecies. We read about it in Matthew 24. We're reading about it in Second Ezra, I think the 9th chapter. We read about it in Second Ezra 15, Second Ezra 16. Constantly reading about how the Most High is going to play. That's one of his spirits that he created for vengeance. Hold on and go to Sirach 39. That's why I said everything has already been created and established. The Most High said, I don't have to do no more work. Everything that I want, need, and prepared is already done. 39 and pick it up at verse 27.
the book of Sirach, chapter 39, verse 27. All these things are for good to the godly. So to the sinners they are turned into evil.
So everything that we're getting ready to read, the Most High said, if you're holy or godly, We'll see these things as good, but to a sinner, they'll be made evil. These are judgments upon sinners, right? Read on.
There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force, and appease the wrath of him that made them.
They lay out their force until they appease the Most High, man. These spirits are relentless until they get the reaction that that they looking for from the Most High. So they ain't stopping until they appease the wrath of the Most High. Read on.
Fire and hail, and famine, and death, all these were created for vengeance.
So all these were created for vengeance, including famine. So how are we going to have how is the Most High going to establish judgments? He said famine is one of the things that's going to happen. So going back over to Genesis and pick it up again at verse 55.
Verse 55. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, what he saith unto you, do.
Okay, so we know that this is spiritual Egypt, right? According to Revelation 11 and 8. Now we're talking about ancient Egypt. During this time of famine, during the time, where and who is everybody coming to right now for aid when it comes down to this famine? Many of the third world countries are already experiencing famine and have been for years, right? Who does everybody always come to and beg for help? America. America is the goose with the golden egg, man. America's always got the resources. They got the money. They're looking for everything to come from this great whore known as America. The great whore of Revelation 17, right? And here they are, back in the days of Egypt, saying the people were crying. Everybody that was within the kingdom of Egypt and outside were looking for Egypt for help. Famine hit the whole land. Now it said that America or ancient Egypt had resources, had bread. Look, you can still see Pizza Hut commercials. You still see McDonald's. I see people lining up in McDonald's like they've got cracking gold in the burgers. People is over here still eating. They still going to Starbucks. They still going to Burger King. They still going everywhere. Now we are experiencing and seeing shortages on goods. That's all part of the plan. Shortages is definitely in effect. Empty shelves is definitely in effect. As we're seeing the inflation and the cost of the prices of these goods rising up, which is making it less attainable for people. Food banks have been running out of food, but people still know they can still find a good hot meal. We used to do works in Skid Row some years ago. Feeding and clothing the homeless, right? And multiple times we would be approached by people out there, and they say, "Hey, these people don't want that food. They get fed all the time." You know, the perception is everybody down there is just down on their luck, broke, starving, and all jacked up. No, a lot of them people are down there by choice. They've created a whole city down there to where people are out there surviving, supporting their drug habits, going out there for they still down there having sex, they're getting high, they're getting fed, they can run over to the mission, take a shower, get back out there on the streets, post up. They've disconnected themselves from society. They don't want bills, they don't want mortgages. So they like, look, we're down here living. And now you see that mentality has caught on all across California. I don't know about the country. I can only speak about what's going on out here. But you for sure can't drive too far without seeing a tent somewhere out here in these streets. As the mentality now is, well, the hell with it, man. I'm gonna be taken care of one way or the other. So they're not out there concerned about food and starving. You know, these cats is out there talking about we'll work for food and homeless veteran, we need money. These guys is out there hustling, getting money, supporting drug habits, doing what they need to do. I've seen it. You go buy food for them and say, well, here, I'm not going to give you the money, but I'll give you food. When I was young, I remember my mom buying a homeless cat a little meal from KFC, I went to give it to him. She told me get out the car, go give it to him. I went to go give it to him. This cat threw it on the ground and said, I don't want this. I need the money. Now you know what that was for. So testimony from people downtown and Skid Row, they be like, man, these people is eating. They down here by choice. There are some people who's down there hard on their luck that, fell out and just trying to get by and making that as a transition. But at the same time, the resources are there. So we see in here in ancient Egypt, the resources was there. It said that the people were famished and the people cried for Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, go to Joseph, whatever he saith to you, you do it. In verse 54, it says, but in the land of Egypt, there was bread. See, America is going to be one of the last places left that crumbles and really falters to this famine. We see it already creeping around all the other nations around the world, from Lebanon to various countries in Africa, South America, Central America, various spots in Europe. They're experiencing a famine. Europe right now, Western Europe right now is getting jacked up. The UK, they whole economic system is collapsing. The cost of goods and services over the last 2 years, because of inflation and because of the pandemic and the supply chains being shut down, food was jacked up. We see it over here, but people are still eating. So Egypt still had food. This is where everybody's gonna need to come to. Go ahead.
Verse 56. And famine was all over the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians. And the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt.
So now Pharaoh, through the instructions of Joseph, Pharaoh gave full autonomy of rulership to Joseph. He said, whatever Joseph says to do, y'all do it. Joseph said, okay, well, you know what? We stored up. We've got all the provisions prepared for us to survive here, and we can make a killing off of those that's out there looking for food. So this is why you even see a lot of those uh preparedness companies were making a killing during the pandemic and moving forward, because they knew that that was a resource that people are going to need and they're going to come to. They were making money hand over fist, man. Gun sales was at record highs. Ammo shortages was on the rise because everybody was buying guns and people didn't have no ammo. So the gun companies, they made a killing. Food preparedness companies, stored food places and all that made a killing. Now the same thing is going to be happening during this time. Joseph made the right move, stored up. He said, okay, we're going to make a killing. We got the food. We're going to sell it. And you know it is at accelerated prices because the shortages and the desperation of the people, they're willing to pay whatever to get it. But read on.
And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in all lands.
You see that? So it said all the countries came and submitted themselves to Egypt because of the food. Jump over to chapter 43 and let's read that 1 and 2.
Genesis chapter 43, verse 1. And the famine was sore in the land, and it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, Go again, buy us a little food.
So this is Jacob instructing the other 11 sons that they were running out of food. He said, look, you got to go back to Egypt. Go buy us some more food. But now he said a little food. Why is it? How come they can only afford a little now? Oh, because the scarcity of the goods was actually becoming more severe. The cost of it was becoming more expensive. So now your grocery bills, have you not noticed? Your money ain't stretching as far as it used to no more. Your old budget of $200-300 a week or whatever, or a month, or $400-500 a month, that's only buying you enough food for 2 weeks now. It used to supply you for a month. Not the same no more. Now we're seeing here, I mean, Jacob said, "Well, we can only get a little food now." Jump over to the next precept, Genesis 47, because even during this time, it tells you that the people uh, from the other countries and the Egyptians, the more that they had to pay with their money, when the money wasn't of no value anymore, they ran out of money. They had to sell their lands. When the lands wasn't there, I mean, no, they had to sell their money, their livestock, their land, and then ultimately sold themselves. So this is how the whole collapse goes. This is why when America makes everybody dependent upon them, they can ultimately take everything from all of us. Because when the food is not affordable anymore and you can't pay your mortgage bill, well, they say, well, you know what? Maybe you can go get on EBT, but those benefits is limited because everybody else and their mama's on it. So, figure out how you're going to budget out your food. Then when that fails, oh, you got some land? No more. That now is going to come government property as you sell it just to survive. You bank default. You got the bank done took your home, repossessed your home. That car you had that got repoed. You foreclosed. Whatever other possessions that you was making money from, that's out of here. That's what was happening back then. Remember, the Most High said, if it happened back then, it's gonna happen again. Genesis 47. Read that 13 down.
The book of Genesis, chapter 47, verse 13. There was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine.
Now listen, remember, this is progressive. It's over a 7-year period. So when it first starts off, people wasn't really feeling it like that because they was able to go buy food, right? But now we're seeing that each time it said that the famine was getting worse and worse. So regardless of the fact that right now, oh, we're still able to buy food, everything is still good, nobody's tripping. But notice, as time progresses, it gets worse. Oh, that food that you was able to buy a year ago, 2 years ago, you can't no more. It's not available. It's not there. You see? Or your money value of what it used to be able to cost, you can't afford it anymore. That's what was going on back then. So it says, and there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all of Canaan fainted by reason of famine. Well, we just seen the big scare and the impact of what happened with the quote unquote bread basket of the world with Ukraine and Russia and the wheat imports getting shut down. And the Middle East was heavy, the so-called Middle East was heavily dependent upon them for their wheat and their grains. So a lot of the Arab countries was suffering because they wasn't getting them grains in. So how did that affect the herds? They couldn't eat their grains. People couldn't make their breads and couldn't make their other victuals or whatnot to eat. So now we're seeing the same thing was going on back then. Everything's running dry. But read on.
And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they brought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth.
Oh, so there was an economic collapse. What are we hearing about all the time in the news now, economic news, if anybody's paying attention? That there's going to be a collapse of the economy. Stock market crash, housing market crash, inflation making the money less valuable. You can't buy your way out of this system. You understand? So the money done failed now. The Egyptians are saying, well, we ain't got no money. Money ain't working no more. Give us bread. People start getting a little agitated, more demanding. Go ahead.
And Joseph said, Give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail.
So if you don't have the money, or because your money is not enough to afford. Because remember, Joseph, they said they collected all the money. They said, well, we ain't got no money. Well, Joseph said, what else you got to offer? You got some herds? You got cattle? You can get that up. Oh, you need some money? Well, sell that Lexus. Trade that, that Cadillac that you got. The Negro love to talk so much about their foreign cars and everything. Them things ain't gonna be worth nothing but like a damn Hot Wheels car when everything is all said and done. They're gonna turn them things in immediately for the money. Same thing that Joseph was saying. You got cattle, we can utilize that. Give us the cattle and we'll exchange it for bread. Read on.
And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year.
So they had enough of the resources that they got, depending on what they turned in, horses, cattle, herds. That was enough to feed them for a year. That was almost like a payment plan. The value that they got was sustainable for a year's worth of food. But was that enough? Remember, 7 years. That'll get you through this year. You know, many of our people, man, is just getting through. Already, man, the Israelites are living by check to check and making it year by year by the skin of your teeth. So long range plan thinking, that's gonna be out the door. People worried about, oh, my stocks and bonds, and I'm thinking long range, I'm gonna cash out in 10 years, this is gonna be worth it. Please. When this SHTF really goes down, you're gonna be worried about eating day by day, resources day by day. They were able to finance themselves to get enough bread to eat for the year. They had no guarantees about the year after that. Go ahead.
Let's see,
18.
18. So when that year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said unto him, We will not hide it from my lord, how that our money is spent. My lord also hath our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my lord, but our bodies and our lands.
Uh-oh. So now look what happened. After 2 years of the famine, they couldn't take it. They said, well, the only things left is our bodies and our lands. We got nothing else to surrender. Read. Go ahead and read 19. All right.
Salaki, I was trying to adjust something.
All
My
right.
bad. All right. Pick up verse 19.
Okay.
Go on. Verse 19. Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh. And give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate.
So now you see how far people are going to be willing to compromise themselves. It said, wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? It said, there's no reason for everything to be destroyed, everything to go to waste. What else can we bargain for? What else can we surrender so that we can make sure that we're eating and our families are sustained? Buy us and our land for bread. So when Esau is out here dangling in people's faces, I've got the food, I've got the resources, I've got what you need. People are going to be willing to do whatever it takes for them to survive. Thus, when you start reading about Revelation 13, about people's ability to buy and sell and being cast into this particular system, what are you going to be willing to sacrifice in order to stay apart and survive? You see, people surrendered themselves and said, I'm fully willing to submit to the new system of plan. And Joseph said, yeah, what about the land? Yep, that's yours too. Bank foreclosure, seizures of the land. That's why when Esau's already got it lined up with the property taxes. People may say, I'm a homeowner. Yeah, I've been having my home for the last 15 years. Well, aren't you on a 30-year fixed mortgage? You still owe 15 more years? Yeah. Well, you don't own it no more. Because if you can't make them payments and complete that contract, guess who's coming to dinner? The banks. They're taking that house. And you say, well, okay, well, no, I paid off my house. It's mine now. Hey, all praise to the Most High. Just make sure you continue paying Esau and property taxes. If you don't, they're saying that's our land that house is on. And if you can't pay taxes on it, we've got a problem. We may have to come visit you and kick you off our land or give you heavy fines. If you can't pay the taxes, what good is the fines going to do? Next thing is we're taking the land. So Joseph had everything lined up and said, well, all resources flow back to Egypt. And this is all through the spirit of the Most High that gave him this wisdom and said, prepare Joseph. Those 7 years of plenty that you had, good times rolling, what did you do with it? Did you make sure that you had provisions lined up for when the bad times happen? Because I told you it was going to happen. I revealed it to you. See, that's the problem. Our people know things is going to be going down and don't do nothing about it. I'm going to just pray to the Lord. I'm just going to put it in his hands. You already did, and he gave you answers. It's like the old Christian proverb to talk about the man stranded on an island and asked the Most High for help and for a way out. Man on the boat rides by and says, hey, you need help? Come on, jump in. No, I'm waiting on the Lord. Helicopter drives by, they yelling off with the loudspeaker. We can drop a rope down, pick you up. You ready to go? No, I'm waiting on the Lord. Big, next thing you know, man, the man dies on the island of famine, of starvation and death. And then he finally gets his opportunity to ask the Most High, why didn't he come get him? He said, man, I didn't sent you a boat, a helicopter, and all kind of stuff. And man, you turned me down. I gave you wisdom and understand. I gave you an out, and you didn't utilize it. Joseph utilized it, and you see what it did? It brought him up to a higher level of rulership just through the wisdom of the Lord by preparing, storing, making sure. I'm not saying hoard. I'm not saying, put your trust in these goods. The Most High, I mean, Yahweh Shai even told us not to set our treasures upon heaven, where dust and moth doth corrupt. But do we utilize wisdom? Do we make sure that we have certain provisions in place for the time to come? Absolutely. Joseph knew the time was going to come. He got ready. And everybody that didn't know what to do and was subjecting themselves to outside powers to support them, they lost it all. Lost it all. Continue reading.
Verse 20. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's.
Mm-hmm.
And as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end thereof.
And now that the land belonged to the Egyptians, what did they do? They quartered them off and put them into uh, sectional cities outside of the borders of Egypt. It says, and as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end. What does that sound like? Quarantine cities, FEMA regions. Let's look at this. Let's just say this. They've got, according to FEMA, they've got 10 quarantine cities that will be sectioned off in the event of a quote unquote emergency. You see how America now has been divided into 10 sections? These are all considered regions. This is FEMA Region 1, the New England area, right? FEMA Region 2, New York, New Jersey, I think Philly. No, Philly's down here. New York, New Jersey, and I think that's it. I think this is just New York and New Jersey. The New England area, you got Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. FEMA Region 3, known as the DMV, Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware. FEMA Region 4, the Southeast, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee. This is what was going on in Egypt. Why does this happen? Because it makes it more manageable. What region are you from and who's over that region? FEMA Region 9, California, Nevada, and Arizona. This is what was going on back then. So don't be surprised when you see a crisis and things go down where you're talking about complete collapse of America, that they go and do the same thing that happened over there. Verse 21 in Genesis. As for the people who removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end of thereof. Now go to 2nd Ezra 15. 2nd Ezra 15. And I want that scripture about a man's gonna desire to go into a city and not be able. That's 17, verse 17.
Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able.
You see that? And that's when these regions get lined up. You know, they already gave a brief preview and a beta test when it came down to these, this past health scare with the pandemic, where they had the quarantines lined up and were telling people you can and can't go here, you can't enter this store, this area without mask and gloves, or where's your papers at? We need proof that you've gone through the treatment methods by rolling up your sleeve before you can come here or there. You understand? Your passports, your VAX passports, right? All of those things was just showing us the potential and the plans of how they intend on separating and segregating this place when everything goes down. Okay. Jump over to Revelation 6 now. Revelation 6, and let's look at this third seal. We've talked about this before. We're going to review it one more time. And this being the third seal. And you can just read verse 6.
The book of Revelation chapter 6, verse 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine.
So a measure in the ancient times and the metric weights would be like a liter worth of grain. Now, if you can imagine how much a liter is, let's look at that real quick. See how much that is. And while I'm pulling this up, read Matthew. Around Matthew, I think 26 and 2, or 20 and 2, 20 and 2.
The book of Matthew chapter 20, verse 2. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard.
Do you hear that? It said a penny a day for his labors. So that when it says, go back to Revelation 6 and 6.
Verse 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny.
So a
And
measure of wheat for a penny. That shows you that a day's labor would buy you this. You work all day for 1 liter for a bag of grain like this. Now imagine if that is going to sustain you for any particular time, or your household. You got a household of 5, right? And let's just say you make $20 an hour times 8 hours. That's $160, right? Minus taxes and everything else. You might as well go ahead and drop just being nice. Your taxes, your benefits, your 401k, whatever else they got going on, whatever other small minor taxes that you got going on. God forbid you got child support getting taken out your check. You're done. But let's just say $60 goes towards that, or your taxes and all that. I mean, Shalaki, you'll have $100 left. This is the $100 gonna buy you this in this day when the third seal is completely been let loose. We're getting glimpses of it, but it says a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny. So 1 ounce for a day's labor and 1 liter of grain for a penny of wheat. That's a day's labor. And then 3 liters of barley for an additional day's labor. So it says a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And thou shalt hurt not the oil and the wine. So point of the matter is that food will be available, but it will not be affordable. Now imagine you got to stretch that out. That's what Joseph was capitalizing. Look, you might get a bag of bread for $100. And he said, that's incredible. How's that going to happen? Look at the inflationary methods that they're doing of collapsing the dollar. That's why the Fed keeps running around increasing the he's doing these interest rate hikes every other month because it's too much money out there right now. It's too much money floating around in the system. The more money that's out there, the less value that it has. So they saying we gotta cut people from spending. So that means if we make things more expensive, they won't sell, they won't be able to buy as much. If we cut people's jobs off, they won't have money to buy. That's the ultimate goal. And they're continually raising up the rate hikes every month, I think, or every other month. They're about to do another one next month, right after I believe the primaries, the votes. So this is what we're seeing right now. Jump over to Ezekiel 7:19. All right, you got that?
Yeah, Salaki, I was muted.
Uh,
Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 19. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord.
right, because why? The value of the money is going to go down. Even with this, the Most High even told us that we're going to be redeemed with our money in Isaiah. Let's get that precept. Hold that and go to I think it's Isaiah 52 or 53. 52, yeah, 52 and 3.
Isaiah chapter 52, verse 3. For thus saith the Lord, ye have sold yourselves for naught, and ye shall be redeemed without money.
You see that? So we've made sacrifices and followed after and sold ourselves to the heathen and followed after their ways and unrighteousness and so forth and so on for nothing. We're out here killing ourselves just to live, man, hoping that money's going to save us up out of here. Everybody's trying to get a new hustle going. Gig economies is at an all-time high. Sisters are selling themselves online. Brothers is out here selling weed online. They just got to talking about Uber now is going to be doing weed deliveries. I think it was Uber, one of them, delivery services now. You can get your weed at your front door, your food at your front door, your groceries at your front door. I mean, Amazon got some new service. Whoever would do this is a damn fool. Garage door service, where you give them the code to your garage. They'll open up your garage and leave your packages in there, for because of the heightened awareness that people are out there stealing packages. So they're saying, well, if you got an account with us, we'll just give us your garage code, and we'll put your groceries in and close your garage so that you got a secure delivery. I mean, who's gonna do that? But they are advertising it. The Lord said, our people is out here selling themselves for nothing, and we're going to be redeemed with our money. Why? Because the money will not save us. Go back to Ezekiel. There's going to be a failing of the money, a failing of the economy. So there's silver and the gold they're going to throw in the streets. Look what happened in go back to Ezekiel 7:19.
Verse 19. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord.
You see
They,
this? Hold on. This is in Venezuela. Money in the streets. Why is this going on over there? Because if you study the economy of Venezuela, their economy is completely collapsed. The socialist economy that they have, the money is of no value no more. People are out there buying groceries and even getting haircuts with gold now. They got little specks of gold. Look at what they're doing. They out here making arts and crafts with the money now. Look at her. Or her, I mean him. Shalaki. This is arts and crafts utilizing the money. That's why the Lord said you got to watch and see what's going on in the earth, because it can happen and will happen anywhere. So look at him. He's making baskets with the damn land's currency. Venezuela's currency is so worthless that locals weave goods out of it. And then we just get to reading Ezekiel said people are gonna be throwing that silver and gold in the streets. Why? It said because it's a stumbling block of their iniquity. It's not going to be able to deliver them from the wrath of the Lord. So money is not going to get us out of this situation. So, people that's out there talking about, you got these economists and these castmen who's so concerned about trying to save the stock market and all that, hedging their bets on the future. Oh, we will get over this hump. This happened before. Every time they say that, there's always a story that comes out and say that this is some new historic level, new this. We haven't seen anything like this since such and such. So when they flash back and they always talk about this has happened before, no, what we're seeing now is a biblical proportion. This is things that haven't been seen before, or if they have, it's already surpassed the past. So the same methods to get out ain't gonna work. Look, the UK just over there in England, they just got to trying to their whole economy is about to collapse, and they resorted to printing up money. That didn't even work. That made things even worse. That's what made the prime minister just retire. I mean, just resign after 44 days. Because she said, if this don't work, I don't know what to do. I'm out of here. And I'm not going to be to blame. See, so the Lord said they're going to throw their silver and their gold in the streets. That's prophet. That's prophecy, man. We see that. And we read that Isaiah 52:3, right? So let's look at some more of these parallels, man. As I was talking about this 2 years ago, this was a headline that I found on AP News a couple years ago. I was already moving in the spirit, putting this stuff together, and next thing you know, I start seeing mainstream news talking about the same thing. In visions of post-pandemic life, roaring 20s beckon again. So they made the parallel picture. People out in the streets, driving around, here they are again. Right? So they put a visual to what was going on. Now you got to remember, I did this a couple years ago. So some of the articles you're going to see is from 2020, 2021. And the information is still relevant right now. Matter of fact, some of it has gotten even worse. So if you remember, and we remember back in the times of the roaring 20s, it was roaring because everything was going down. Everything was great. Even though there was a pandemic going on, people was had money, people had they savings was looking all right, people was out there doing their thing. Right? So let's move on. The roaring 20s from 1920 to 1929 versus 2020 to 2029. This is the comparison that I made. That says the roaring 20s was a period in history of dramatic social and political change. Well, don't we see a lot of those? Have we been seeing over the last couple of years social justice, people running out, from the BLM, the bogus BLM movements to all of the alphabet people out there causing and wanting political change, the uproar after Donald Trump got out of office. Same thing was going on back then. All the protests, all the rioting, all of the, and it's still going on today. I think one of the Don't Shoot the Messengers I did some months back, uh, we was chronicling based upon Second Ezra, the 9th chapter, where it said there's going to be uproars of the people, and I showed all of the different countries that were having riots and protests throughout the earth, and there was a gang of them out there. That's showing you the uproars of the people is happening right now during these past couple of years and continuing on right now. So during this time, people was out there fighting for a social and political change. We see that parallel to again. For the first time, more Americans lived in cities than on farms. So we're seeing and have seen a complete transition to people being more into the cities than on in isolated farm areas and whatnot. Now you're starting to hear small pockets of people wanting to go off grid. They want out the cities because they see and know what's going to happen to everybody that's in the cities. The people who made off the best for the most part after the collapse was people who had self-sustained ability. Now it says the nation's total wealth were more than double between 1920 and 29. So there was a big uprise in America's wealth and value. Well, America's still holding up pretty strong in the midst of all of this financial collapse that's going on. They're in control of most of these banks and the collapsing of what's going on right now. Between the Federal Reserve, the IMF, because that's why I say America's the goose with the golden egg, because unlike other countries, America can always print more money. America is $31 trillion in debt and is not sweated one bit. They are not tripping because you know what they say? If the ish hits the fan, we'll just print more money. They can't do that in Zimbabwe. They can't do that in Ghana. They can't do that in Saudi Arabia. They can't do that in Thailand and in some of these other countries, man, South Central America. They can't print up no money to save their economies. What they have is what they have, and it's backed by the US dollar. So if the US dollar keeps on printing up more money, it only strengthens America's dollar. See, right now we be thinking like America, the dollar in the world is bad, but actually, actually, look at it. This from September 30th. Why is the US dollar so strong right now? Because they can continually print up money. It surpassed the euro now. It surpassed many of the other economies that's going on out there, right? Because they can print up money, and because it devalues through the printing, it's good while it's in here. But these other countries that got US backed economies, the circulation of the dollars devalues their money. They're like, why they keep printing up money? It's only making our money less valuable. And before you know it, their countries are completely collapsed. And then guess who comes in riding on the white horse? The International Monetary Fund, ran by Esau in America, and they come in and say, we'll give you a loan to rebuild your countries. However, we're going to need to colonize this place. We're going to have to take it over. And third world countries fall victim to that all the time. So reading on, it says the national total wealth more than doubled between 1920 and 1929. So right now, while the rest of the world's economies is all jacked up, man, the American dollar is still strong. No different. And this economic growth swept many Americans into affluent but unfamiliar consumer society. So remember, 2021, it says it swept many Americans into affluent but unfamiliar consumer society. People that wasn't used to having money got money in their pockets. EDD, PPP, uh, even if people that was getting legitimate unemployment benefits, when they was giving you an extra $600 on your unemployment benefits, it put money in people's pockets, man. They ain't know what to do with it. It said an unfamiliar consumer society. So what did these Jakes do? Jakes is running around there renting boats, traveling around the country, buying cars, buying jewelry, going out to these expensive restaurants they would never was able to go to, buying up the clothes, and most of them ain't got jack squat to show for it right now. Came up 20, 25, 30, 40, $50,000 and ain't got nothing to show for it right now. And if they do, the businesses that they were starting up or trying to do or whatever ain't popping like they used to. Why? Because everybody else that was getting money, that had money to spend, they ain't got it no more. The small businesses, man, people opening up the restaurants and all this other stuff, all of the different pandemic restrictions making small businesses collapse, the middle class getting hit up. But same thing was going on in the roaring 20s. People was getting money and we're unfamiliar with what to do with it. Invest a bunch of money in the crypto, a bunch of money in the stocks, and the ball was rolling. Everybody was getting money. And now once Esau says, I need all of that back now. That's why, Slow Biden got the IRS task force up, 80,000 people, workers coming back trying to recover all them PPP loans and scammers that was going on. He said they got 10 years to round them all up. And best believe he coming for it. Reading on, it says people from coast to coast bought the same goods thanks to nationwide advertising and the spread of chain stores, listened to the same music, did the same dances, and even used the same slang. Well, tell me that's not going on right now. Much of the same cultural things are being shared throughout the world. Everybody's using the same social media apps, entertainment apps, streaming apps, so forth and so on. And then much of it is spawned by Israel. From the dances to the trends to the music, you know, the whole world bops to the beat of our movements. But so do we not see the same parallels going on back then as they did right now? You're not convinced yet? Okay, let's continue on. Both had pandemics before the new era. The Spanish flu, 1918. What do we have? The DVOC 91, right? Same things was going on. And another one I forgot to add. No, I don't want two. I want one. Uh, no, no, I think I want two. Hold on. Because World War One says it ended in 1918. Uh, I think I have world. Let me see. I don't think I want. Hold on. I want to double check. Okay. So 1914, 1918. I thought it was during that same period. No, it was it ended right before the good old times. But we are in a state of war right now. The thing is, when we see we see this world war going on right now, it took America like 3 years before they jumped into World War One and World War Two. So as we're seeing the encompassing inevitable World War Three that's coming, we see the proxy wars going on right now between Russia, Ukraine. You see the major threats that's going on between China and Taiwan, South Korea, North Korea. Iran has got their hands in the pot now. America's going to let all of these nations continue fighting. They're going to, by proxy, be on the outside looking in, fund the wars, send in special troops, special ops, giving in the weapons and whatnot. But when America gets hit, or when America is forced to jump in even at an even more higher level, it's going to take a couple of years before they actually join in. So I was thinking that the World War One, was during this time, but it ended in 1918. But so scratch that one. But there's many more parallels that we're going to see. So, did we not both have pandemics during this era, right? So, Spanish flu lasted from 1918 to 1920. So, 2 years. Where are we at now? Even though they're still pushing the issue with the vid, but when it start? Oh, 2019. Slow Biden just said on 60 Minutes, what was it, 2 months ago? Oh, the pandemic is over. It's over. Y'all remember that when he said that? So you're talking about a 2 year gap where they're saying that it's over. But meanwhile, they've got Boston University cooking up a new strand. They already, we talked about it last night about the new uh drug resistant, you know, um subvariant that's out right now. So they're still going to utilize this as a weapon. But overall, they're saying after 2 years it was over with. Same with the Spanish flu. So let's move on. Even the Moderna CEO said that this thing is similar to the flu. Same thing we've been saying for since it started. And he said, don't get the booster unless you've got, serious issues health wise. And that young people should be able to make their own decision whether or not they do it. This coming from the Moderna CEO who made the pokes in the arm. Now he had to humble himself and say, you know what? No. Only get it if you need it. And actually, you treat it like the flu, man, and you'll be all right. The lid has been popped off now. So we see this parallel, right? Now look at this. We're seeing a feminist movement that has now reached to the heights of heaven. Give me Jeremiah 31:22, Rara. And while he's getting that, we're going to read this. The most familiar symbol of the Roaring Twenties is probably the flapper, a young woman with bobbed hair and short skirts who drank, smoked, and said what might be termed unladylike things. Do we not see this happening right now amongst not only the Israelite, mainly the Israelite women, but the white woman is the one who's promoting most of these imageries. She's out there promoting, and our people's out there promoting promiscuity by dress. They're out here drinking and smoking openly. They flooding into the bars and to sitting outside smoking weed, rolling blunts themselves, doing. I mean, it's crazy. But this is the same thing that was going on back then. Doing unladylike things. I just seen a video, man, of a sister walking through a subway, and as she's going up the escalator, pulls her pants down and takes a piss on the damn escalator. Cameras rolling and everything. She didn't give a damn. Go ahead and read that, Rara.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 32.
22.
Salakia, verse 22. How long wilt thou go about, O backsliding daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man.
So the Most High asked the question. He said, "How long will thou go about, O backsliding daughter?" As we see, our women backsliding continually further and further away from the Most High, man. They want to exalt themselves above the men. They want to go out there and be hot girls and hustle the men and do everything they can to show themselves as being, readily available prostitutes or whatever the case may be. They're dressing more provocatively. Instagram has got everybody thinking they models and famous to the point to where they doing the catfishing with the editing of the video, the pictures and all that other stuff. These are all aspects of what was going on back then. It said, and this is a new thing in the earth that a woman will compass a man, meaning go around and be in front of the man. Compass to go about and make a 360 around it, putting things in reverse. Now you're seeing all of the feminist movements being exalted to the top. Look at some of the movies. Most of the movies now that's coming out are all based around female heroes. I think Disney, when they took over Hulu, they said that they were going to make it a point to have a more feminist approach, and they were going to be more LGBTQ, HIV plus um, promoting of their content. So this is why you see, um, the what is it? She-Hulk, she getting, that's up now. The Miss Marvel, that's getting promoted. The new Predator, she is the little 10 tribe Indian Native American sister that's the heroine of that show. There's another one with I just seen it the other day and I was like, what the heck? 354, 351 or something like that. All these women internationally take on, a whole cartel of men. I mean, the objective is clear. They just had, you see what happened to her. She got out of there real quick. Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister of England, they gave her the keys. She crashed out and jumped out the car. Said, "I can't do it." Right? Uh, they've been trying to get Hillary Clinton in there for the longest to be president. That ain't gonna work. But if slow Biden mysteriously drops to the floor, it's two women behind him that's gonna take his place. Kamala Harris, and then if she can't hold the fort down, it's old ass Nancy Pelosi. The point of the matter is that the women being put into authoritative positions is now being taken place, and in doing so, they want to exhort and put themselves out there that they can be just like the men. So they out there smoking, drinking, doing unladylike things. I mean, all you got to do is go look at Glorilla video. Go look at uh, what's the other chick's name, man? Cardi B and all that. Go look at their videos. This is what they promote to the generation. This is what these sisters is all clamoring to. Unladylike things, in addition to being more sexually free than previous generations. Well, don't we see that happening right now? Women claiming their liberation. It's my body. I can do what I want to do. If I want to be a hoe, I'm not living by the double standard no more. If the men can do it, so can I. Soliciting themselves on the internet, right? Going through their quote unquote hoe phases, as they say. And that's being celebrated. Same thing was going on back then. But check this out though. They say in reality, most young women in the 1920s did none of these things. So they were out there promoting this imagery. They're out here teasing it. The difference is now how it's gotten worse is the women nowadays are living this. Tell me this picture up here ain't no different than, some sisters in what are you, Instagram profile. This is from 1920. What's the difference that they ain't doing now? So in reality, most of the young women in the 1920s did none of these things, though many did adopt a fashionable flapper wardrobe. So whether they was out there living their quote unquote best life or not, they were still dressing the part. But even those women who were not flappers gained some unprecedented freedoms. So let's move on. Now here we go. The 2020s Israelite women calling themselves bad bees. That's my bee over there, bitch. Don't they do that? Rihanna's out here talking about how she's a savage, taking down men, doing whatever she wants to, man. Black widow behavior. Thoughts, WAP, all of that. Look, what's her name? Megan Thee Stallion. She just had a sit down with Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton, and they're discussing about WAP. I mean, if you don't give me a damn break, but this is the imagery that we're seeing. Well, this is going back to Lil Kim. She was one of the damn godmother witches of promoting this imagery. This Little Kim from like the 90s. Here's your homegirl talking about Glorilla. If you see this video, man, she got pregnant women in the video twerking, all her homegirls dressing like they just, rolled out of bed with the most thottish garments on, smoking weed, pouring Hennessy down their mouths, talking about their F Negro free, F and F. And this is a big old hit. Here you see Nicki Minaj with her, garments on, and Megan Thee Stallion, and here they are, sexually free. Didn't we just hear about that in the 20s? Cardi B and all of the, her promiscuous lesbian behavior going on. You understand? So what's the difference between back then and now? Only that it's gotten worse. Only that it's gotten worse. Go to Lamentations 4 and 3. Lamentations 4 and 3.
The book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 3. Even the sea monsters draw out the breasts, they give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people has become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness.
Right. So, if you know anything about the ostriches, man, they're very territorial. They willing to fight over their young and all of that. But here you got the Lord said that even the sea monsters, they take care of their young. They give suck to their young ones. He said, but the daughter of my people become cruel. Some of these sisters are mothers, man. And this is the post kids. I don't know. I don't think she got no kids. But I know Nicki Minaj got kids. Lil Kim got kids. Cardi B got kids. The little hot girls over here. What's their names? Uh, all right, you know them girls from City Girls.
Yeah.
City Girls. I think one or two, a couple of them got kids. I don't know about her, but these are the mothers of the next generation, man. And this is what they're going out there doing, showing and promoting. And the internet does not fail. All of these imageries that people seeing is going to be seen for generations to come. Their kids are going to come up saying, look, damn, look at my mama, man. Why is she doing this? I mean, look at Kanye's kids. They got to go and look and see all the stuff that their mama was doing. They got to wake up and see the history of their mother, what she did in order to live her best life and get money and do what she had to do. But the Lord said, man, the cruel daughters of Israel, man, they ain't even taking care of their kids right. I mean, you see it in the streets. There's stories of Israelite women, man, selling their kids into sex slavery. You know, you got mothers out there blowing weed in the babies' faces, letting toddlers smoke weed. I just shared a video with the body earlier. I mean, it's a little baby, man. This little dude couldn't have been more than a year and a half, 2 years old max, and he's out there talking baby talk, talking back to the grandmother, and they filming it thinking this is so cute and so funny. And he's talking about blah, 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 blah. And she like, I don't want to hear about it. You better get out of here. And da, 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 da. And you always talking back. And he hitting the door. I don't care if you hit that door. You better get it. Thinking this is so cute, man. This interaction. He think he's a little grown. And I said, man, when that little dude grows up and has that same rebellious spirit on him, they're gonna regret filming this because they didn't put no correction in place then. That little dude's gonna grow up to be a complete menace. By the time he's in grade school, he's gonna be acting a damn fool because he was coddled and they was allowing this rebellious nature for him to talk back and strike out at women and at his authority figures and all of that, man. That's why the scriptures say, man, women is gonna be uh, giving birth to monsters. Let's get that in the apocrypha. I forgot where's it. I think it's in Second Ezra 5. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, 5 and 8.
The book of Second Ezra, chapter 5, verse 8. There shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be off sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters.
So we're seeing about the end time judgments that the Most High is going to set out on the earth. He said it's going to be confusion in many places. We see that going on right now, man. From the gender confusion to the pronoun pronunciations about how you recognize somebody to the acceptable foods of what's going on. You got impossible meat, impossible foods. All these are talking about selling bugs now. Confusion going on as far as doctrines are concerned, religions. What's the right way? What's not the right way? Where should I invest my money? Where's the safe bet that I can make sure that I'm not completely wiped out when this whole thing go down? I mean, confusion galore going on. Who do you support in the war? Who don't you support in the war? It says, and the fire shall be often sent out again. So there's going to be constant destructions going on. It said, and the wild beasts shall change their places. You're starting to see uh, animals changing their places, changing their natural habitats. You're starting to see, coyotes in the hood now. It's like, what are you doing here? No business in the hood no more, man. I just seen a falcon on a power line outside of my house 2 weeks ago. I took a picture. I said, I never seen no falcon here. But they're losing because the resources that they, are used to finding, they can't find it in their normal habitats. They change the places. So, I showed that video of that fox attacking that woman in front of her house while she on the phone. Sharks jumping out the water, jumping into boats, attacking people. I mean, this is what's going on. And it said, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. You're going to see these kids, man. They're going to start really coming up, really terrorizing people, man. Terrorizing people. But this is the reason why. The spirit of the women, man, the Most High said that they out here acting the damn fool. Go to Deuteronomy 28:56. Let's read that curse. The scriptures even say, man, children have become their oppressors. When our people are sitting down, cowering down to the kids, man, the kids is out here running the schools, beating up the teachers.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter.
That's right. So what's the woman running around talking about now? I don't need no nigga. I don't need him. Blah, 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 blah. I can do it all by myself. So her eye now becomes evil toward the husband of her bosom. We seen that skit. It got everybody, including me, with the woman that was talking about the man wouldn't feed her other 4 kids. She got multiple baby daddies. Now, again, this was a skit, but the way they did it, it looked real. And the reason why everybody bought into it is because it is a reality in our world of Israel. She had the McDonald's, and the man pulled up with the McDonald's, and she thought, where? How come you didn't buy my other kids nothing? He's like, look, I'll take care of the kid I got with you. What are you talking about? Like, I'm not buying everybody food. It became a whole thing. She threw the food down on the ground, said, well, the kid with him ain't gonna eat, whatever. But the point of the matter is that the wife, it said her eyes gonna be evil toward her husband and the children. So now, not taking care of the kids and not being the mothers that they should be is what's happening. You understand? So read that again.
The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness,
Now
her
hold on. Does this look tender and delicate at all? It said, man, the women were so tender and delicate, man. They were so dainty. They was like, man, they ain't even like stepping on the ground. They wanted to make sure that they was taken care of correctly. Now these sisters is out here, man, with bikini tops on, sitting on top of cars, twerking in the middle of the street, wearing the most provocative things that they could find, blunts hanging out their mouth, smelling like liquor. That's far from tender and delicate now. You know, tattoos galore all over the place. And it says what? Read on.
her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter.
So now because she doesn't like her husband, she's running out cheating, committing adultery, scheming on dudes. I mean, I've seen the videos, man, where the woman is on the phone with her husband and in the car is her side dude and they're laughing as she's talking about, oh, with my homegirl. I seen one video, the girl was acting out the whole scenario. Oh, I'm with the girls, but girl, stop playing. No, no, you know I love my, just playing it up. And the side dude is sitting there looking at her, smiling like, mm. And she's talking about, yeah, yeah, well, we're just hanging out. And yeah, no, girl, hold on, such and such. I mean, just played the whole role, talking to an imaginary person as if she was talking to one of her homegirls in the car. So, yeah, the men aren't the only ones out there creeping and cheating, man. I mean, they got video talking about women cheat better than men now. Why? Because they listening to these women, especially the city girls and Megan Thee Stallion and Lotto or Miss Lotto or whatever her name is, Mulatto, and they out there promoting all of this madness, showing no love for their family, their kids no more, man. Setting bad examples, right? That's all I needed of that. So we see the parallel of what's happening there. All right, let's move on. During the Roaring Twenties, millions of women worked in blue collar jobs as well as white collar jobs as stenographers, for example, and could afford to participate in the burgeoning consumer economy. The increased availability of birth control devices such as the diaphragm made it possible for women to have fewer children. So what's on the table right now? Why are they running around worried about abortion now and birth control devices and whatnot? Isn't that the same thing? What's the objective of the of America, and BLM is they want to destroy the quote unquote Western nuclear family. So now if they limiting childbirth and child rearing, they can destroy the nation because now what? They're telling you don't have kids no more, or you don't have to have no kids, or you can go out there and take the morning after pill, plan B, go get the abortion if you need to, go out there and do what you do. There was a uh yeah, there was like a TikTok video that I seen. I think somebody sent it to me, and it was a sister talking about how the father of her son, she just was able to contact him. Long story short, she goes to Miami, her and her homegirls on a quote unquote girls trip, and she said, "You know how it goes in Miami? It's a girls trip. You do what we do. What happens in Miami stays in Miami." She gets pissy drunk, shows a dude, one night stand. Couple months later, she realized she's pregnant. She don't have the dude's contact number. She don't remember his name. All this other madness. The power of the internet. She goes out there and somehow advertises whatever information that she did remember from the dude. Whether I guess it was his name. I can't recall what she said. Somebody hit her up and said, I know the dude. She puts him in contact with the father. And she says, "Hey, I know this is awkward. We haven't talked in a couple of years, but you got a 2-year-old son." And the and the dude, I guess he just put a heart emoji on the thing and didn't respond. And she like, "Can you imagine? This is how he responded." I mean, what do you expect? You go lay up with some man you don't even know. 2 years later, a man, you pop out a baby, and you hit the man up and saying it's yours. You think he's gonna automatically be like, "Oh wow, I'm glad to hear. I can't wait to meet him." He's gonna be like, "Man, if you lay with me in the first day, bro, you can get the hell out of here. How many other dudes is out there?" And she was acting like she was disturbed and mad that he responded that way. This is the misguidedness of our people, man. But where does it come from? The spirit of America. America pushes this mentality on the women and saying, "Get out here and labor for me." So now you got women that are willing to sacrifice families for careers, for school, so forth and so on. I mean, Kevin Samuels uh, made a killing off of exposing this and showing the shortcomings of our sisters and their misguided, thoughts about success in America and families, and how so many women were single and just still out there dating or already accumulated things in their lives that men would not want to participate in or want to partake in building anymore because it's not their own. Hence, multiple kids with different dudes and all that other stuff. He's like, man, a man wants to start his own progeny. He don't want to have to take care of two other dudes, kids and you and whatever else. So, that relationship advice that he used to give was really pertinent for our people to understand. But this comes from a spirit that America was promoting. It's the same thing that's going on right now that was going on back then. So the parallels are clear. Millions of women worked in blue collar jobs as well as white collar jobs as stenographers, for example, that could afford to participate in the burgeoning consumer economy. So for America, it was about now acquiring two incomes into the American economy rather than just one. When you had the stay-at-home moms that was taking care of the family, the household, educating the children, so forth and so on. Now they said, well, if we can cut off them and their desire to continue building their family, we can get that second income into this economy so that we can build up America even more. We'll get two economies in here rather than one. And new machines and technologies like the washing machine and the vacuum cleaner eliminated some of the drudgery of household work. Okay, so also they, at the time, white women was allowed to vote, black women wasn't allowed to vote until decades later. So what's the parallel? Look at this. The focus, so-called strong black women, you know, going out there trying to get jobs, getting into positions of authority, you know, um, trying to take over companies, jobs, or whatnot, pushing aside the maternal instincts to want to establish families so that they can get career on path. And by the time they 35, 38, they're begging to find a man that's willing to settle down and have a kid with them before it's too late. So this was an advertisement that you got on here about the best employers for women, Forbes 2020. Why is Forbes only advertising employers for women? Because why? Millions of women were being brought into white collar and blue collar jobs. What were they doing in 2020? Now it's your time, girl. Come on out here, get your degree, go online, get your certifications. We're opening up jobs for women right now. We want to push them ahead because it's time for you to fulfill prophecy and compass the women. Compass a man. So that parallel is clear. They mentioned the vacuum cleaner being a new invention, making household chores easier. 1920 vacuum cleaner gets invented. 2020, oh, they got the vacuum cleaner, the robot, AI vacuum. See how the technologies are balanced out, and both are designed to make the household chores of the woman easier. And you say, oh, that's misogynistic, man. Why are you talking? The scriptures say that women should be keepers at home, right? So it ain't me. The Most High said everybody's got a role to play, everybody got positions to play. Technologies now, back then, were making the job easier, just as they do it now, right? So they had the AI vacuums running around vacuuming up floors and hardwood floors for the ladies of the house, just like they did back then. Mass communication and consumerism. And during the 1920s, many Americans had extra money to spend. Sound familiar? During the 1920s, many had extra money to spend. What was going on in 2020, 2021? Extra money to spend through all of the other, the scamming, the hustling. And if it wasn't that, it was legitimately getting new money through PPP loans, EDD money. Money was flowing. The stock markets was booming. The tech economy was booming. The gig economy with all this online money, that's booming. Everybody had extra money to spend. That's kind of drying up now. Like I said, a lot of people ain't got much to show for it now. This is why we're hearing about all of the robberies going on, the home break-ins, people running in trying to steal and grab what they can, robbing people out on the street, stealing watches, smashing and grabbing in jewelry stores or whatnot. You dig what I'm saying? So in the 20s, this was the same thing. During the 1920s, many Americans had extra money to spend and they spent it on consumer goods. So they were out there buying like consumers. So what was our people doing? Again, renting cars, renting out Airbnbs, flying across the country, taking vacations, buying up, foods that they wasn't able to ever go, restaurants they wasn't able to go to, the most expensive liquors, clubbing, throwing ones in the club and all of that. So they were out, everybody's out there doing the same thing as back then, right? They spent it on consumer goods such as ready to wear clothes and home appliances like electric refrigerators. How big was Amazon during that time? I was buying stuff on Amazon because we couldn't get out, and stuff you could find online was just right up my alley. So all the electronics, all of the things we were seeing, being a consumer, people was buying up stuff. No different than back then. In particular, they bought radios. The first commercial radio station in the United States, Pittsburgh's KDKA, hit the airwaves in 1920. 3 years later, there were more than 500 stations in the nation. By the end of the 1920s, there were radios in more than 12 million households. People also went to the movies. Historians estimate that by the end of the decades, three-quarters of American population visited the movie theater every week. So we're seeing communications rise up. Radios, movies. What are our people using nowadays? The entire world is streaming more than ever, and it's straining the internet. Zillennials are going to change investing forever. B of A says, inspired by fashion and sneaker culture. Cure hopes to change the ways millennials and Gen Z invest. So what they say they were doing? People were inspired by fashion. Consumer goods were being bought up, ready to wear clothes, home appliances, electronics, radios, and people were hitting the movies. Well, in today's time, you see fashion taking off during those times. A lot of people were starting up their clothing lines. People were buying up materials to start up their online businesses or whatnot. Hats, t-shirts, dresses, and the Israelite community was going crazy. The rest of the world had their other fashion, fashion nova stuff going on. But streaming, it said, was more than ever. Isn't that how everybody who's going to the, unless you really want the movie experience, me and my family still like to hit the movies. But the movies ain't like it used to be. Everybody streaming, everybody was just sitting back waiting. Netflix was out, Netflix and chill. That became a whole thing. So just like back then, same thing is going on now, just in a different fashion. The technology has amped up the way people consume their entertainment, be it via radio, because then the radios was big. But what else is going on now? Spotify, what's the other ones out there? The other Pandora. You dig what I'm saying? So people are now listening to music differently and it's blowing up. Um, what's the other the one the rappers do? Ira, um, they upload their music on it. It was one little website, man. Everybody was doing it.
You talking about SoundCloud?
SoundCloud, SoundCloud. I was about to say StreamYard, SoundCloud, Spotify. All of these streaming services, man. The people that Pandora, people getting their music from. We just got to see them back then. The radio was instituted, started blowing up. People was going to hit the movies more. Why? Because back in like the early 1900s, 1908, moving forward, the movie theaters were starting to boom. Um, that's why I suggested last night everybody go watch that documentary, Empire of Their Own, and it shows you how the GMO Jews took over Hollywood and how they do control Hollywood and the media. Kanye ain't tripping. He's speaking the truth. So we see what's going on here, right? So that parallel is clear. Cars, 1920s, the Ford Model T was made. But the most important consumer product of the 1920s was the automobile, low prices. The Ford Model T cost us $260 in 1924, and generous credit made cars affordable, luxuries at the beginning of the decade. By the end, they were practically necessities. In 1929, there was one car on the road for every 5 Americans. Meanwhile, an economy of automobiles was born. Businesses like service stations and motels sprang up to meet drivers' needs. Businesses like service stations and motels. Well, people aren't using motels like that anymore. They're doing Airbnbs now, right? Gas stations is making it come up. The cars now we're starting to institute it. Everybody's rolling. Everybody's got cars now. Cars is all over the streets. Traffic is out of control, especially here in LA, right? But the invention of the cars and making it affordable for everybody is what's going on. People is out here spending $800-900 a month just on a car note, just so that they can roll what they want. Let alone, we ain't talking about the insurance. It's people out there paying damn near rent just to drive. I think 3 weeks ago I did a DSTM. We were talking about the average car note right now is like $800. A used one is like five something. Add on the $200+ for your insurance. You got a used car, you're looking at 700+ for a car. New car, you're in the $1,000+ range. That's the average in America right now. But people are still out there rolling. And let's not forget about the gas. But look at this. What's the new thing now? All the things car makers say they'll accomplish with their future electric vehicles between now and 2030. Well, isn't that the new wave now? California is already banning the sale of gas cars by 2030, as well as New York and other states are joining in. Electric cars are the new thing now. What's Slow Biden say? Oh, you don't like the gas prices? Hey, just buy an electric car, as if that's just that affordable. Tesla's been leading the charge. You know, charging stations are popping up all over the place. See how the revolutions have changed? In the 20s, you had the Model T and all of that. Now in 2020 and moving forward, the electric vehicles is the new wave. Everybody wants to get that. Why? Because you want to cut down on the gas prices, your mileage, the technology, the damn near Tesla is almost like having a computer, self-driving cars and all that other stuff. This is the new way that they're introducing the same things. 100 years later, same spirit. Let's move on. The jazz age. So now we're seeing the impact of music. The jazz age. Cars also gave young people the freedom to go where they please and do what they wanted. Some pundits call them bedrooms on wheels. What many young people wanted to do is dance. The Charleston, the cakewalk, the black bottom, and the flea hop. What does everybody want to do now? Everybody wants to do these little TikTok dances. Everybody wants to do the new trendy dances going on, right? But listen to this. Jazz bands played at venues like the Savoy and the Cotton Club. These are J clubs, right? And the Oregon and Chicago. Radio stations that phonograph records, 100 million of which were sold in 1927 alone, carried their tunes to listeners across the nation. Some older people objected to jazz music's vulgarity and depravity and the quote moral disasters it supposedly inspired. I mean, how much more can we talk about? I'm now in that in that crowd of saying, what is this mumble rap, man? What are they out here talking about? This is ridiculous. This is foolish, man. They're talking about the gang of boosts. You follow what I'm saying? The vulgarity, I'm not so anal about vulgarity. I'm not tripping at somebody cussing like that. But if it's just constantly, especially sisters doing this, like, come on now. Moral disasters. Do we not see the moral fabric of the people declining, man? The death culture is at an all-time high, man. Drill rap. And for you folks that don't know what drill rap is, man, this is a new, or not necessarily new, it's a style of beat, number one, that is being rapped on by rival gangs. And they're talking about drilling, meaning killing and going out and doing missions, harming their enemies. So most of the drill rap that's going on is basically self-destructive, and it's popular as ever. I think the real beginning of drill started in the UK by the Beats, but it came over to America via Chicago, and Chicago took it and started and took it to the next level as far as uh, disrespecting their enemies, making songs about the dead, all kind of madness. You know, let's not talk about the drug culture that gets promoted. And I know the youngsters say, "Well, y'all was talking about that in the '90s and 2000s too. It ain't us." They absolutely right, but it's not at the level of what's going on now, man. In my era, there was still a balance. We still have Public Enemy, X Clan, Poor Righteous Teachers, NWA even was saying, or who was it? Express Yourself with Dr. Dre. He was talking about not to smoke weed, even though he doubled back and made the Chronic, you know, 2 or 3 years later. But the point of the matter is that there was still a balance. You could listen to this Tribe Called Quest or De La Soul or whatever else. You didn't have to listen to what was going on. Right now, it's like if you're not pushing this degenerative music, you're not getting no deals. You're not coming out, you know. Uh, but it's the same thing that was going on back then. In the 20s, man, people was listening to jazz. They looked at that as like a repulsive, form of entertainment. I know Elder Rossoff says rap is uh, what's the thing you said? Repulsive and pathetic, I believe. And when I was young, I was like, man, how dare this Jake talk about my rap, man? He's repulsive and pathetic, man. You tripping. But now I see what he was talking about. Is Yanni? I believe I got that right. But now I see, outside looking in, man. Now I'm a little older. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's not all that inspiring, in many instances, man. But just like Kanye been saying, there's controllers behind there that actually, you know, won't promote anything but if you want that money, you want to sell your soul, you want to, contribute to the moral decline of Israel, of your fellow brothers and sisters, man. That's what they're gonna have you promote. All right. So that's how they was looking at jazz, and we know that that came from Israel. So now we're seeing the jazz impact, no different than what's going on with the hip hop, even the R&B now. I think even Puffy, P Diddy came out and said R&B is dead. It's like it's not the same no more. There's no Jodeci's and Mary J's and all, not on the grand scheme of things. But you had a whole plethora of different artists that was going on out there. Black Street, you had Boys to Men. There's no groups like that no more. Everybody's individually doing their thing. Uh, I'm sure my elder brothers can talk about everything from the Spinners to the Four Tops to the Dells and all of them, the Temptations, Earth, Wind, and Fire. All those was group efforts, man, a group spirit that was putting out a whole different vibration of the music. Now everything is kind of solo, be it from that. There really ain't too many rap groups no more. Nobody's really rapping as a group no more. Everything is solo, and everybody's promoting the same things. Now there may be a couple of singers out there that's doing their thing. I may not be aware of them, but the moral of the story is the majority is being promoted. That's only showing more depravity and moral disasters. Same way they were doing back then. Let's move on. Now remember, it said that many of the young people, all they want to do is dance. Charleston, the cakewalk, the black bottom, and the flea hop. Well, now they want to twerk. They want to do the sturdy dance and all this other stuff. But look at it. How TikTok is helping black creators reclaim history identity of a whitewashed culture. The startup is using NFTs to give black dance artists credit for their creations. TikTok, white girl dancing trend is pure joy. These are all just headlines about how TikTok and technology now is being utilized, showing how people want to dance. The latest dance trends, the latest TikTok trends, the latest TikTok dance. What's different? Nothing. It's all going the same way. Everybody that's online, man, make sure you hit that like button, man. Wipe your feet before you come in the house, man. We in there cooking, we serving up plates. Just be respectful, man. Hit the like button, wipe your feet before you come in the house. That's all we ask. Hopefully you didn't forget about it. Now, moving on, it says the cultural civil war. Prohibition was not the only source of social tension during the 1920s. An anti-communist, quote, Red Scare in 1920 and 1920, 1919 and 1920 encouraged a widespread nativist and anti-immigrant hysteria. Now, listen to this. They were saying that because of the communist threat in 1919 and through 1920, there was a big movement about anti-immigration. They was against immigration. This led to a passage of extremely restrictive immigration laws. The National Origins Act of 1924, which set immigration quotas that excluded some people, Eastern Europeans and Asians, in favor of others, Northern European of Great Britain, for example. So here they are. They're showing some people they were letting in, Northern Europeans, others they were saying no, Eastern Europeans and Asians. So immigration was a big issue going on back then. Do we not see that going on in politics? They're worried about the border every minute. They want a wall, they don't want a wall. Who can come in, bus shipping the Northern Kingdom uh immigrants that made it over here, shipping them to New York and sending them to Martha's Vineyard and shipping them back to Texas and moving them all around to Florida. When the war in Ukraine kicked off, they was ushering the Ukrainian quote unquote refugees to the front of the line, letting them come in, while the immigrants that was coming from Venezuela, that was coming from El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, they was getting pushed back. Haiti telling them, hell no, y'all can't come in. You good old white folks, you Christians that's coming from the Ukraine, come on in. Welcome to America. We got a package ready for you, money ready to distribute to you. So immigration was a big thing. Well, what was happening in 2020? Donald Trump with the wall. Slow Biden talking about no, we got to let him in. Here goes four articles right here. Representative Brady on the border crisis. Harris is in denial. The influx of migrant kids are making foster care system strained. Crisis at the border. How did it happen and what's being done? Fact checking claims on the migrant surge at the U.S. Mexico border. Here's another one. Border challenge takes center stage at Biden's news conference. So here it is again. We're seeing immigration being used as a major tool of political influence, and what's been happening with the future of Babylon, right? So same thing was going on back then. Same thing happening right now. Immigration being a hot topic. Let's move on. Prohibition. The 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which banned the manufacture, transportation, and sale of intoxicating liquors, ushered in a period in American history known as Prohibition. Prohibition was ratified by the states on January 16, 1919, and officially went into effect on January 17, 1920, with the passage of the Volstead Act. Despite the new legislation, prohibition was difficult to enforce. The increase of illegal production and sale of liquor, known as bootlegging, the proliferation of speakeasies or illegal drinking spots, and the accompanying rise in gang violence and other crimes led to waning support for prohibition by the end of the 1920s. In early 1933, Congress adopted a resolution proposing the 21st Amendment to the Constitution that will repeal the 18th. The 21st Amendment was ratified on December 5th, 1933, ending prohibition. So after all of that, they was having drinking being illegal, but what happened? Gang violence, other crimes, people still bootlegging, selling it on the low, pretty much made it inevitable that they were going to have to go ahead on and make it legal. Well, what's going on with weed? What's the biggest thing everybody wants? Oh, everybody wants weed. Well, now it's been legal, has it not? We've been fighting. People been fighting over this for the longest time. Oh, it's medicinal. It's not medicinal. Oh, you can't sell it in this state. Oh, you can sell it in this state. You can have this much and this many grams, and it's legal. You can smoke with. They even got the police now saying that they don't have the drug test. They would smoke. They had a picture of this a female cop in New York, man, smoking weed in uniform. Just in case you think I'm lying. Where was that at? Hold on. Where was it at? Oh, they ain't got it on here. It was a female too. Well, either way, we know that weed is the equivalent to the prohibition era as far as liquor is concerned. But let's look at this. I'll find that picture another time. In the United States, the use and possession of cannabis is illegal under federal law for any purpose by the way of the Controlled Substance Act of 1970. The recreational use of cannabis is legalized in 17 states, the District of Columbia, Northern Mariana Islands, and Guam. So this is just an example of showing how the parallels between prohibition and weed now. That was the biggest thing going on, man. People wanted to drink their liquor, didn't want to be restricted, didn't feel as though that it should be illegal. What's the difference now? People running around here don't want their weed taken from them. Don't want nobody talking bad about their weed. They think it should be legal. Oh, it helps everybody. Same thing. Now we're seeing the legalization of it, just like we've seen the finalized legalization of liquor during that era of the 20s leading into the 30s. Took longer for the weed. Now it's still not legal in every state, so it's not completely ratified as far as weed is concerned. So that's why the parallel is still relevant with prohibition and with the liquor, because it still was illegal throughout the 20s. It wasn't until 1933 that they said, all right, fine, you want it, you can have it, before everybody could do it. But what was going on in the meantime, in between time of that, people, the gangs, the cartels, everybody was still turning up. They still was out here selling it. Now you start to see, oh, the weed shops is opening up. People are starting to smoke more free. Everybody doing what they doing. Same thing. Here comes the money. Let's look at today's financial affairs. This is when the times was good in the early 20s. This article was from June of 2021. Homeowners got $2 trillion richer during the first 3 months of the year. So remember, this is the good old times when things was rolling, money was up. Now, if you compare this to right now, it's completely opposite. The housing market is in complete shambles. The valuation of homes is up is going down right now. People can't sell their houses. There's no buyers. See, wow, have things have changed in the last couple of years. We ain't even got to make it to 2025 or 2030. They're already accelerating the collapse. So this is when the good times was kicking in. Look at this. Will the US dollar lose its place as the world's number one reserve currency? So they were already talking about the collapsing of the dollar. This was February 2021, about a year and a half ago. Grocery prices up steeply from the same time last year. So we're seeing the inflation that was hitting over the last year. Now, mind you, again, this is from, look down here. They're quoting prices from March of 2021. And here comes the Fed and slow Biden and them talking about, oh, inflation just hit because of Putin's war. No, this thing was going on way before that. Way before that. So grocery prices are up steeply from the same time last year. And if we chronicle it, so they're saying March of 2020, March of 2021, grocery prices were up from last year. Now, if you go from March to 2022, they're still going up. So what's the trend? Prices are still going to continually go up. And they talking about really 2023 is really going to get bad. We ain't seen nothing yet, is what all these economists are saying. The world faces longer supply shortage as China's factories are squeezed. That was in May of 2021. Now we're still seeing the fact that China went under another lockdown. They got 1 million people locked down. That's still restricting goods and services from coming out. So is it getting worse or is it getting better? It's getting worse. A year and some change later, it's still bad. Poll shows Argentines expect inflation to hit 50% in the next year. Argentina is above 70+% at this point right now. They were talking about 50% by 2021. Let's look at where it's at right now. What's the inflation rate? Let's see if it's getting better, if it's getting worse. Oh, look at that. 70%? Where is it at? 50% by 2021? 2022, 95%. They're expecting their inflation rate to go up almost 100%. They said they was expecting 50% in 2021. It's up 95%. That's why I said in some instances things are getting uh, ushered and faster, right? So look at it. Prices in Argentina are seeing rising 50.2% over the next 12 months, according to the University of Torcado de Telas monthly poll citizens. So just imagine what that means. 50% increase on everything. Add 50 cents to every dollar. Now it's up 95%. So you almost can say add another dollar to everything that you bought. Whatever was a dollar before is $2 now. If it was $200, it's $400 now, or $300. I mean, this is where it's going to. Chicken shortage sends prices soaring and restaurants can't keep up. Remember when Wingstop was talking about, oh, get the thighs now because they couldn't get the chicken, the wings and all of that. I mean, the same thing's going on. We just got through talking about last night the record levels of the bird flu happening, and the chicken and the turkey shortages is going on. So as we're chronicling, we're seeing it's still getting as bad as it was before, or worse, I should say. Coming this summer, gas stations are running out of gas. That's not it's not running out of gas. There's gas, but the gas now is becoming gas. It's becoming more expensive because of the shortages, right? So that was April 27th of 2021. Here we are, a year and some change later. It all came to pass. Protesters march in Colombia against a plan to raise taxes and pandemic wrecked economy. So more protests of the people. Colombia collapsing because of their inability to sustain economically over there. See over here, people have fallen into poverty. There's massive unemployment, said Rosalva Pena, 61, who was forced to close her dressmaking shop during the pandemic as she helped other protesters block a main street in Bogota with the trash dumpsters and other barriers. She said, this isn't the time to raise taxes. So what are we seeing? Inflation. I mean, the Fed is raising up the interest rates, which is going to increase taxes. They keep talking about softening employment. So constantly we're hearing about all these layoffs that's happening from the tech sector all the way down to the regular Joe Schmo that's working his normal 9 to 5. 50, they said, what is it? 50% of the companies in America are expecting to have layoffs within the next 6 to 9 months. So then when we look and see these other countries that's already had this happen, their reaction is to protest and do nothing but show outrage in the streets. So just be prepared when it hits this place, because it will. It's just a matter of time. Inflation risk intensifies with supply shortages multiplying. Again, just covered a story last night. It said that all the economists and everybody saying inflation is 100% guaranteed within the next 12 months. Okay. So with that comes the supply shortages, manufacturing shortages, gas, loss of jobs, so forth and so on. They're saying expect all of that at heightened levels within the next year. Okay. The demise of the dollar, reserve currencies in the era of going big. They're talking about the dollar eventually is going to collapse, right? Corn prices up roughly 50% in 2021 as Americans brace for years of horrific food inflation. They've been talking about this for the last year and some change. and it's getting worse and getting worse, right? So corn, one of the major productions. This is one of the this is one of the crops, man, that they've transitioned into. I think they said damn near 90% is GMO now. Corn. You got to find packaging that says non-GMO corn. Uh, See, it didn't take long for the Joe Biden era to start resembling the Jimmy Carter era. Prices are going up so fast that even the mainstream media can't stop talking about it. This has already become a major national crisis, and it should be exceedingly obvious to everyone that is going to get worse. The Biden administration wants to borrow and spend trillions more dollars on top of all the absurd spending that has already happened, and the Federal Reserve is going to continue to pump gigantic piles of fresh cash into the financial system. Collectively, our leaders are literally committing economic malpractice, and if most Americans truly understood what is going on, they would be out in the streets protesting against it. This is just some of the things that we're relying upon for corn: corn flour, corn meal, corn gluten, corn flakes, corn starch, corn oil, corn syrup, dextrins, maltodextrins, fructose, ethanol, fatty acids, sorbitol. I mean, the list goes on and on. They're used for antibiotics, aspirin, baby foods, baked goods, baking powder, beverages. I mean, just look at all of this stuff here, man, that we're relying upon just for corn alone. And if that gets cut down, that gets put on shortages, all of these things will become scarce. Okay. That's just one crop. Imagine all the other ones. Will the stock market crash in 2021? The market should worry about 2022, not 2021. This one is more accurate, but the questions is constantly being posed. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So we're seeing markets are very worried now at the latter end of 2022 for the last like 2 to 3 months, maybe longer. Most of the stocks are all in the red. You might have a couple of green spots here or there once a week or something like that. Mostly everything is taking L's right now. The forecast for the stock markets and the economy for the ending of 2022 is bleak. In 2023, where they're expecting to really announce finally that the recession is here, is going to be even worse. This guy, Harry Dent, famous economist, man, he's been known to predict, the 2008 housing crash and many others. He said in 2021, the market crash is going to come in 2 to 3 years. The economy is already dead. So do the math. 2 years, you're talking 2023. You're talking about a complete market crash, bank runs, and the whole nine, man. So if if he's speaking any truth based upon his reputation, he might be onto something. Because if we look at what's going on right now, it ain't looking good. It ain't looking good. There's no great outlook that I can tell you about, and neither can he. Because at the end of the day, the Most High already said all this was going to happen. America's got to fall, and America's going to get hit, first of all, in their pockets, let alone through warfare. Uh, it's all going according to the Most High's plan. Big short investor Michael Burry warns the mother of all crashes is coming and predicts crypto and meme stocks will plummet. Even the crypto is collapsing. There's no real safe bet, man. At its height, I think Bitcoin was at like 60,000. I don't know where it's at now. It's below 20, or if it's around the 20,000. So it's lost damn near $40,000 in value within the last year. Uh, there's no safe bet with none of this stuff, man. And this was an article from June of 2021. They said the mother of all crashes. So who's the mother of harlots? In Revelation 17. Read that real quick, right, Ron? Revelation 17, and I think it's what is this? Verse 10? Let me look real quick. Hold on. The mother of all crashes is coming, man. 5.
The book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of all of harlots and abominations of the earth.
That's right. So America, this is that place, man. The mother of all harlots, mystery, uh, and all the abominations of the earth. Now we're seeing why he can even say this in parallel of saying the mother of all crashes is coming. Let's let you know, man, this great horse is about to hit the dirt. UK pension fund is near collapse as a warning for American pensions. So again, we talked about the UK, United Kingdom, their pension funds, their retirement funds, damn near lost 90% of their value before they try to, bail it out. It was all bad. And they said that this could happen in America. See that we get tunnel vision and say, "Oh, that ain't gonna happen here. Look what happened over there in the UK and in China. It won't happen here." Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Because the same controllers are controlling the world's economy. It just hits other countries faster. Look, are California's public pensions funds headed for another crisis? Now they just got through saying, "Warning." This is October 6th. This article, I believe, just came out this week. California pensions, CalPERS, the nation's largest pension fund, experienced a 6.1% investment loss in the fiscal year that ended June 30th. The assets fell to 444 billion after topping 500 billion last year. So they lost $60 billion. There's a whole racket that goes on with pension funds, mismanagement of money, mismanagement of people's finances. People lose their pensions, losing money, don't know where to go, how to retrieve it. They can't get it back. So they're just showing that even the future is bleak for retirement funds. They possibly could lose those things. 401ks, that's just money in the stock market, man, that's being gambled with. So even the bleakness of retirements, man, is in jeopardy. But what it all this is the same type of stuff that was leading up to the Great Depression that hit 1929, 1930. And then after that, what happened? World War II kicked in. We're on that same path. Look at this. Markets. Bank of England warns risk of UK financial crisis hasn't gone away. US cash crisis withdrawal limits spark bank run fears. The world is flirting with another global financial crisis, and the next few weeks are key. So economically, we're seeing all of these things that's happening. Look, Chinese banks get provisional okay to enter bankruptcy proceeding. You talking about whole banks, man, filing for bankruptcy. Remember in China, they had the tanks out there guarding the banks as people was running up trying to get their savings out, and they told everybody, you lost your money. The money now is the banks, and it's going to be utilized to invest in to save the banks and the Chinese economy. Look, financial crisis leads some in Lebanon to rob the banks to access their money. Lebanon, man, the Lebanese, they can't even get their money out. There was a lady that did a whole little stage thing, man. She ran up in the bank with a fake gun and said she was robbing the bank because she wanted her money out. Banks locking down on people's money, man, limiting withdrawals. The banks is juggling around money, robbing Peter to pay Paul to try to keep themselves afloat. And that's what happened back in 2008 when the banks was getting ready to collapse, all the defaults on the housing market loans and all of that. And Obama came in and said the banks is too big to fail. Print up more money. We got to save them. The car companies was about to crash forward and all of them. They're too big to fail. They bailed them out. And then they sent the jobs overseas. Same things is going on here, man. Same things is going on. So if you're moving in the spirit, you recognize and you're seeing, where and how things are progressing and what's going on, it's only going to be more relevant of seeing how this whole thing, this path that we on right now, where it's going to end up. You understand? That's where we're at with it. So paying attention to what was going on back then is going to be even more clear about how to prepare for and what we're going to see moving up forward. Take the lessons that we've seen from our great forefather Joseph when he said, hey, you knew things was bad, it was revealed to you. Prep up and prepare yourself as best you can. Do so, while you can still buy a gallon of water from the dollar, 99-cent store for $1.50 or whatever it is right now. You got the extra $10, man. Maybe go buy 10 gallons. Go buy 5 or 6 gallons to store up in the house instead of spending the $10 on two cans of Mickey's or whatever the hell Jake's is out here drinking. Instead of spending that $10 on two Whoppers for $7 and some fries, man, spend that money, get you some water, man. 5 gallons here, you got $4 left, but go buy you know 3 cans of 2 cans of vegetables and a can of beans, and just do that on the regular. Start organizing your homes to where you can actually store and put some things away. Because again, the food was there in Egypt, but it was becoming more unaffordable as times was moving on. We seen what happened in Revelation. A day's labor is going to get you a loaf of bread. You know, make sure that you've got provisions in your homes that you're prepared to you know defend it if necessary. Because Second Ezra 15 says the people's going to be breaking into homes for lack of bread. Invest in things like a vacuum sealer where you can store your vegetables, seal it up, freeze it. You know, you want to invest in a little roast or a piece of meat that you can cut up and freeze dry it. Vacuum seal it and freeze it, where you can plot out some meals with that if need be. You know, go to Smart and Final. Go to if you don't have a Costco card or whatever. Smart and Final got 20-pound bags of rice, man, that you can buy for like $10, $12. Sometimes you'll catch it on sale. 20 pounds of rice is a lot of rice, man. How to store those things, that's a whole nother lesson, man. You get the 5 gallon cans, you get the gamma lids to seal them up. Throw some of the preserve packs up in there. I mean, there's a whole lot of things, man. We'll have to talk about some of them things in the future. I know some of y'all can, go online and find some things online. There's plenty of prepper, content creators out there, man. They can give you some advice and give you some game on it if you don't, hear from here from us at MLTC. But these are the things, man. I'm imploring brothers and sisters, man. In the next, some like I said, sometimes it's kind of too late for some people because the prices are so high. You can't get some of the things that you can. But if you got some extra money, you got some things that you can kind of stash away, go ahead and get that, man. Hedging your bets with not betting so much on the digitized economy where you can lose it all with the press of a button. You may need to get you some hard assets that we read in the scriptures, like silver, gold if possible. That's going to be exchangeable and tradable and still have value when it's all said and done. The paper ain't gonna be worth nothing. You seen that in Venezuela. I made mention of it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Watch this. Now we seen what happened with their paper money, what was going on in the streets, right? But what they do? Venezuelans break off flakes of gold to pay for meals and haircuts. So here's an example. When you see that the inflationary rates hit so heavy that the dollars ain't worth jack squat, what do the people resort back to? Hard assets, tangible things that became uh, valuable again. So, hyperinflation stripped the local currency of its value. Dollars, pesos, reais, and euros are also common alternatives. But you see here, man, people was breaking off a little gold, man, to get some food and get their haircuts. So, if you ask, what kind of, economy should we get? Those things, you know, um, it's a lot of stuff, man. It's a lot of stuff. But if you're just talking about trying to prepare as best you can for the future, those are some of the examples, man, that you might want to, consider doing. Because come next year, they're really talking about the proverbial all hell breaking loose is going to be really eye opening for a lot of our people. So things ain't going to be the same um, here going forward. And if we just look at what happened in the past, know that the same thing is going to happen this year. I mean, this coming year, right? That's why Esau is promoting this great reset by 2030. This is why they keep talking about building back better. Well, something's got to be broke down and collapsed if you got to build it back, right? So you're talking about collapsing, you're talking about rebuilding. This is what it is. All right. So I think I rambled on enough, man. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. While you have a shy. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Hopefully this lesson was edifying to you. If you haven't hit the like button and wiped your feet, man, make sure you do so on your way out. Contact information is scrolling towards the bottom. The email is thecovenant144@gmail.com. Instagram is Messengers of the Covenant. And if you are persuaded to send alms and support the ministry, man, send it to $IQAhmath. All right. All praises for that, man. Y'all be well. Most High willing. See y'all on the next time, I guess. Oh, you got it up there. There you go. Now, let me give my elder his glory, man. Because back in the day, me and the other brothers, man, used to kick tooth and nail, man. That was offensive to us. We was like, man, what are you talking about, man? It's rap. No. I see what he's talking about now. It has evolved into repulsive and pathetic, man. For the most part, man. There are some brothers out there and sisters out there that got some tolerable stuff that's out there, man. I don't know them by name. I might, I've heard a song here or there, but for the most part, what the world is promoting, repulsive and pathetic. All right, all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, man. Till the next time, y'all be well, man. Be safe out there. Shalom.